Aaron Gordon had a weird season. Amazing offensively. Struggled defensively. Had some injuries. A lot of personal stuff going on. And then he had one of the most incredible playoff runs in terms of clutch performances we've ever seen, and solidified his legacy as one of the best Nuggets of all time. But what's next for AG? What's this season look like? We'll talk about that on Swipe and Gripe on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday. Appreciate you guys being with us every day of the week as we continue to roll on through the off season. We're going to try and keep up a pretty healthy amount of shows, even as we enter the slowest time of the season in August. We're glad to have you guys with us. Make sure to give us those 5-star reviews. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Make sure to let us know what you think of the show in the comments, all that and more. On today's show, we had Swipe and I did a show about Jamal Murray, and I thought it was a great episode earlier this week. And so I thought, I asked Swipe what we want to do today, and he said, let's talk AG. And I was like, that's great. Like, we talked about Jamal, and now we're going to kind of dive into AG and kind of the season that he had, what we expect of him going forward, what next season is going to look like, all sorts of stuff to get to on today's show with AG. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I write a Substack called The Denver Dig. You should check out. Swipa is on Player's Choice. He also does pre- and post-game shows, over at his social media on YouTube at youtube.com/SwipaCam and on Twitter at SwipaCam. Swipa, happy Friday. How you doing?
It's a good day today. Got my Stairmaster in. I think that's 45 of the last 52 days for at least 20 minutes. And getting a good lift in, it's good. It's a good summer. It's been a great summer so far.
I'm working out right after this. That's what I'm doing. All right, let's talk a little bit about AG. AG, obviously had a really phenomenal season last year from a shooting perspective. Like, he just had an unbelievable season. It wasn't like anything that we'd seen before. It was completely out of nowhere, and it was something that they really needed. The fact they were so bad with the shooting with 3-point rate and Aaron having that kind of a season kind of shows you exactly how rough it was. But AG last season was just like, he came in and absolutely was incredible from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, I want to get into that a little bit in the second segment, but I do kind of want to know, I worked on all throughout the season. It was like, so like, what'd you change with your shot? What'd you do? And he was like, just reps, man. Just reps, just feeling good. And you ask anybody, the coaches, and they're like, nope, just, he just got in there. I did finally kind of eke out that they had done a little bit of work with his shooting, that they had worked a little bit on his footwork in terms of shooting mechanics, about where he was lifting off from. And that made a big difference in his shot consistency and performance. I am more encouraged that he's going to be able to carry this 4 Swipe, because guys that have hot stretches usually cool off in the playoffs. And it's like, nope, he's still that guy. He's still 34% 3-point shooter. And nope, like, Aaron was still red hot in the playoffs. What do you think about his shooting season and what that kind of says about him going forward?
Well, so I remember I've been talking about this. So in 2022-23, Aaron Gordon, I think in the playoffs, if I remember exactly what the numbers were, I believe he shot 39% from 3 in the playoffs that year. And if everybody remembers, that was like a big deal, because even though he wasn't taking a lot of threes, it was the timeliness of those threes. Yeah, he shot 39.1% on the way to the championship on 2.3 threes a game. And I was like, okay, like, this is a great additive to have to his game. But then the next season, Matt, he only shot 29% from 3. And functionally, I think it didn't hurt them until they got into the Wolves series. The Lakers series wasn't as big of an issue. they were just better than the Lakers, and they just kind of were able not to play their best basketball. Jokic had a really good series, one of his best scoring series, actually. If you look at kind of some of the data baller stuff, Jamal up and down, Michael Porter Jr. went haywire in that series, and Aaron Gordon played well, and AG's defense was important. Him and KCP were just so instrumental in being able to lock down LeBron and Anthony Davis in late game situations, or Roston Reeves. But they went into the series versus the Wolves, and man, I say if Aaron Gordon was able to shoot the way that he was able to do this year in that Wolves series, they might have been out of that. In particular that Game 7, they just couldn't. They had no player score more than 7 points that game other than Murray and Jokic, which is just kind of how Game 7s are. You just literally never know what you're going to get. But then this last year, Aaron, since April, has been shooting over 40%. So since April 24, Matt, he's been shooting over 40% from three. Whew. And then he goes into this season, I think, on a little bit of a confidence streak, and he's able to shoot 43.6% from three, and then he goes to the playoffs and he shoots 38%. Granted, like, no injury and all that kind of stuff, but that's still good, like, especially for your power forward and a traditional power forward. And I think Aaron being able to shoot to this degree is really important. But what I will say, Matt, is that the difference is, though, AG shooting improved from the three-point line, but if you look at Aaron Gordon shooting like from some of the other places on the floor, like in 2023-24, he shot 68.6% in the restricted area. He shot 50% from in the paint, and he shot 44% from mid-range. The very next year, Aaron only shot 58.6% from the restricted area. So it's a 10% drop. He shot 52% from the non-restricted area, and then he shot 37.5% from mid. And I think a lot of that had to do with the calf injury. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact he just really never got his legs underneath him until really later into the season. And I am hoping that Aaron Gordon having a full summer off and being able to continue to work on these new realized mechanics that he has as a jump shooter from distance, I think hopefully this will be the best overall shooting finishing season that he's had. And while Aaron might never get to the Giannis 82% at the rim number, I think if AG gets to 70%, Matt, 68% on the type of interior looks he get, which is a lot of contested layups and dunks, then I think that's going to suit Denver very well. And I would even be willing to say that him maintaining the three-point shooting and him increasing, getting back to a healthy place from the interior finishing, the Nuggets offense is really going to hinge on his ability to get back to that level on the inside. Because I think in a playoff setting, those kind of finishing maneuvers they're going to need based on how teams are going to try to guard Denver, which is by packing the paint and determining that Bruce Brown and Christian and them, you're not going to be able to hit enough outside shots. And Jokic, especially from the mid-range, you're not going to be able to hit enough outside shots to be able to make up for what we're taking away from the rim. I think if Aaron Gordon's able to get back to a place of health where he's able to finish at a high level, I think that's going to make a big difference.
Well, and for me, it's kind of the opposite, where I look at this and I go, okay, so 2 seasons ago, he's at 67% at the rim via Synergy Sports. Okay. Yeah. That's similar to what the numbers you were talking about. Last season, he's all the way down to 59.5%.
Yeah.
And that's rated as average amongst the league. On layups in particular, he shot 48% from the field on layups last season.
Yeah.
So that's touch, but that's also the level of contest and how many guys are down there.
Yeah.
And so to me, this is kind of the opposite, which is what's the difference in 2023 and 2025? Well, they had spacing in 2025.
Right, exactly.
So with, look, Cam replaces MPJ. So you're not necessarily, I don't think you're adding or losing spacing. I think you're adding a lot of stuff, and you're not losing a whole lot in the difference between Mike and Cam. Mike is an elite shooter, but he's like, they're not going to not guard Cam Johnson. If they do, he's going to kill him. So the question is, like, Tim Hardaway Jr., Julian Strother's development, Christian Brown's shooting development, can those kind of things combined with a better offensive scheme, can that lead to better spacing? I'm not saying that AG needs easy stuff, but the difference is, like, AG needs it to not be having to fight through 4 guys.
Right.
He needs it to not be completely jammed. If they can't pack the paint the way the teams did this season, if they have to respect the outside shooting, if they have to respect the perimeter for Denver, that's going to make, then everything gets easy. And once the Nuggets get to play easy, they'll carve you to pieces with their passing.
Do you think that,
move it?
To that point, do you think Brown can take it? What would a Brown to coincide with that, what would a Brown jump shooting leap have to look like for them to kind of have the KCP level effect as an outside shooter?
I don't for Christian. I mean, look, Christian's percentage was good last year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The key is the volume, is that
Yeah.
he's got to fire a little bit, and I think he'll have better opportunities, right? Because one thing that also happened is it became very predictable where it's like, hey, we're going to absolutely overload on, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pack the paint and we're going to overload around Yob. And on the weak side, we're going to stay a little bit more home. Right. And that was why, like, they got a lot of stuff off of one help away because they didn't have the shooters to be able to be like, we can't do that. We absolutely cannot do that. And like, we would talk about it and break it down in season. Ryan and I would, where we'd like, why isn't MPJ on the strong side there as the one pass away guy? You know, why is MPJ on the weak side? So a lot of this gets into, again, like, how do you rediagram the offense? I don't think it's a percentage thing for Christian. I think it's a volume thing for Christian.
I agree.
And if the defense is always kind of having to be, the biggest thing is just like, you can't have them be like, I am definitely going into the paint. Like, we are just going to, this is what we are doing. It has to be like, well, we don't want you so in the paint that you were giving up a lot. We can't get killed by the threes. As long as they rebalance that, I think it's going to make everything easier.
Sure. I like that.
Coming up, let's talk defense with AG, because AG had, I think, a comparatively rough season, but to me, it's more about the position the Nuggets put him in and now what they're able to do differently going forward. We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Nuggets. You ever decide last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? I mean, look, the Rockies are the Rockies, but going to that stadium is still incredible. And Bronco season is during training camp.
Whoa! Do you want to see the 64th ranked player in the NFL? Huh? You want to see that, Matt Moore? Bo Nix, 64 in the top 100, right? I think right behind Patrick Mahomes based on the way he played last year. I can't wait. I can't wait. It
should be really exciting. It should be a really great season for the Denver Broncos this season. You're going to want to get onto it with Game Time. Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch or first quarter, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I'm a big fan of this. Let everybody else get into the stadium and then show up. And instead of dealing with scalpers, use Game Time, pick up those tickets, and that way you're going to get a discount. You're still going to catch most of the game. You're still going to catch most of the important parts. You want to be there for the late game when it's close. You can do that with Game Time and save a little bit as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. I am going to be nothing but positive about the Broncos this year.
What time is it? Game time. Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it, Denver Broncos. Bo Nix. We got Jadae Barron coming through. Dre Greenlaw. Talanoa Hufanga. Matt Moore. The Broncos are back, baby. Back.
I would not be surprised if they won the division. I really would not be shocked if they won the division. Should be a good time. And if they don't, then I've bookmarked a lot of Swipa's tweets over the last 2 weeks.
Wait, Matt, would you Hurricane Teabag has it right here. Would you ever live stream a game with me?
Oh.
You know how much fun that would be?
It would be. Yeah, I would do that.
Do you talk during games? Or are you quiet?
I'm a psycho. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a lunatic. But yeah, right. We could do that. That'd be fun.
That'd be fun. Oh, wait, on this account, we would get 1,000 subscribers in one day, guaranteed.
Let's talk defense. So my assessment of AG's defense is the calf definitely took something from him. I think the misery that entire team kind of experienced, it's really weird how miserable they were for them winning 50 games. there's some part of me where I'm just like, guys, like, buck up, kiddo. You won 50 games. It's fine. But they were just so miserable throughout the middle of the year. Like they were just constantly unhappy. And AG, obviously dealing with the death of, still dealing with the death of his brother. He had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. And like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I have all the details because I don't. I just, the reporter's job is to hear things. I heard things. And I think everybody's always going through stuff, right? Like there's a lot of stuff going on in players' lives that we're not privy to and we shouldn't be privy to. And I'm always really respectful of that. But it always did kind of make me want to, like, I wanted to give AG a break because to me, it was very evident that he was just, there was a lot of weight on him last year. And the way that he interacted with media kind of was illustrative of that. Yeah. So the injury was part of it. I think the mental and emotional fatigue was part of it. I also think that they shifted him a little bit too much into stopper mode where it was like very specific players Christian was the primary assignment on and everybody else AG was. And I think it needs to be probably the opposite where I'm of the opinion it's like, okay, if you're facing LeBron, if you're facing honestly Luka to a certain degree, if you're facing big forwards, big omega forwards that handle Kawhi, yes, that is AG's assignment.
Paulo Banchero, Franz.
Yep. Those are the guys that AG needs to cover. But anybody that's got real elite foot speed, AG does not need to be covering. AG is a power forward. That's who AG is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the time last year, they threw him onto guards when that is not the best use of AG. It's not a good matchup for him.
Do you think that's good how many guards team has? Like how many guards that can beat you off the dribble a team might have?
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about, for example, like the Kings, right? Like, does AG need to be guarding Zach LaVine?
DeRozan.
Right. Like, DeRozan at this point plays more power forward. Mm-hmm. Like, all the vets, when they get towards the end of their career, play power forward. So that's, like, more of where he should be at. I'm trying to think of another team with, like, really great guards.
Pacers. But he did well with the Pacers because Pascal was there.
Right. Yeah. So I think that most of his defensive laps, I am pretty confident he's going to be back to being a very good defender. The other thing I really think is the communication was very poor.
Yeah.
And if AG has to be such a dynamic defender, which he does, you need that communication. And AG was, I think, as pissed as anybody was about how the defense was last year. I think he was supremely frustrated with the coaching. I think he was supremely frustrated with the lack of attention by personnel. I think he was frustrated by his teammates. I think he was frustrated by his own body. I think he was just frustrated defensively. But I think this year I think this is a team where if you can make it a little bit easier, the results are exponential. Like that's the pathway for them to getting into that range that Ryan and I talked about between 14 and 17.
14 and 17 what?
So I asked Ryan what range they need to get to next year defensively, or that they can reasonably get to next year defensively. And
14 and 17?
Between 14th and 17th defensively. I know you're going to say it's low, but like, look, they won the title with 17.
No. They won the title with 15, I believe, right? And then, but remember, past December 29th, I think they were 6th. Remember, they were 29th. I think they were 29th or 30th.
I don't like doing this. I don't like doing the splits because it's like you're going to have good months and bad months defensively. The Thunder,
but they were but remember they lost to the Hawks, the Mavs, and somebody else, and they got blown out, like decimated. And then I think that's when they made their the shift defensively as a whole.
In schedule adjusted defensive rating in 2023, they were 18th.
Right. So for me, that's like a lot of heavy season, and then that's the March basketball that they played. I say that very lightly.
Yeah, I guess my thing here though is just like I think setting a bar for them to be top 10. You can say I don't have any problem with you being like they can be top 10 because you're higher on Joker's defense than I am, and you're higher.
I think more team defense. I think. Well, I guess let me say it like this. So let me read these to you and see if this helps at all. Kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So Aaron Gordon this last year. This is all from Basketball Index, by the way. He was listed as a C- rim protector. Like he just wasn't the mobility wasn't there. The jumps wasn't there. I think to your point, the communication wasn't there. He just wasn't contesting shots to the same degree that he used to. And the season prior, Matt, when they had I think they were per dunks and threes. I think they had the 6th best paint defense in the NBA that year, I believe is what it was. And then they had like the 1st or 2nd or 3rd best 3-point defense. That same season in 23-24, Aaron Gordon was listed as an A- rim protector, and teams shot 4.6 points worse with him as a rim protector than league average. And I think 8 for AG, a lot of that is going to be the health. I think that's communication. And Matt, more to your point, I think them having Cam Johnson to be able to take those secondary like guard/wing defensive options with Christian Brown, I do think that is going to aid him tremendously. Having Bruce on the roster, I think is going to aid him tremendously. I think having another veteran coming off the bench in Tim Hardaway Jr., who just knows what they're doing, is going to also aid him. I think Peyton Watson and Deron Holmes, 2 players he will play with in different lineups next year, I think that's also going to aid him. I think for AG, he does need to be allowed to be a weak side rim protector, a primary on-ball defender versus some of these wings you're talking about. I think I'm adding Kevin Durant to that list because that's also a part of his primary responsibilities, like those like bigger elite wings. I think that the rotation stuff, like all that stuff, needs to be a lot tighter for the squad. And I think Jokic, we talk about this a lot, was a little lazier defensively in the regular season. Just the communication, the frustration, all that stuff was very apparent. I think Jokic needs to have a better defensive year because I think he can scale back some of the offensive stuff this season because their floor should be higher, like without Jokic going like haywire every game. I mean, I think that should be the expectation. I think Jamal and Cam and Christian and Jonas and all these people, they should be able to pick up more slack than they did in the previous iteration. And I think if they're healthier, with Aaron Gordon especially, I think all the way around the team, the floor of the team should be higher. And so my hope is that Jokic is able to scale up some of the defensive intensity, not like the playoffs, because that was too much. That's too much to do in a regular season setting. But I do think it could be there. There's opportunities for it to be there. But I think that's going to all help Aaron Gordon. I think that's why Aaron Gordon will have a better defensive year this year.
Some of this is also about, how teams attack prior to attacking. It's the setup, right? Where, okay, we know that they're going to switch 1-4. So let's get Porter's guy involved here.
Exactly.
Okay, now they have to do this.
Yep.
And then we can then move that into another action involving Jokic. Like that was one of the things is I said was a big thing I made about Cam is that with MPJ had to be your first hide. You had to hide him first.
Yeah.
Then you hit Jamal. And with Joker, it's just like, okay, he's going to play a lot of pick and roll. You're not hiding him because you're not switching with him. Right. And so a lot of this is if Cam is able to deter some of that initial, that setup action, now the Nuggets are not having to constantly be in panic scramble mode. The other thing is, if you look at it, I did a whole big breakdown of the defense in season, and their biggest problems were transition. Should be better with better athletes on the floor and more attentive guys.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, is that weak side corner action. Yeah. All of that was always built to be like, hey, how can we really put pressure on Jokic to where he's either going to have to give up a layup or we get the kick out to the weak side corner. If we every time we can get one of those, we're either at the rim past Joker or we're kicking to the corner and MPJ can't make, and Jamal can't make that rotation. Mm-hmm. But Cam's a lot better at that. And if you're able to put Jamal in different spots on the floor to hide him from that, and even in the stagger lineups, it's like, yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr., not a great defender. Tim Hardaway Jr., able to make a better recovery to the corner than MPJ is because he's just healthier. And so all these little things should help. With AG specifically, my only thing is I do feel like teams schemed AG out a lot last year. I just felt like a lot of the rim protection stuff, I felt like the shorthand blame of him was nobody wanted to put it on Joker. And so it was like, well, where's AG? AG's supposed to be the guy. And it's like, well, look, they're switching AG in 1-4. And because they switch 1-4, they're switching AG and then moving him out so that they know the only guy down there with the athleticism and physicality is on the perimeter. He has to stay home because he's on a shooter. But if they're able to also use better communication just to deter and not have to switch as much, be like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that as much. They'll be in a much better place. They gave up way too many switches, I thought. When you're soft switching and it's just this is easier, I get it. It's 82 games, but God, you wind up in such compromised positions. Don't give them that. Keep AG in a spot where he can make those plays defensively. And I think they'll be in a better spot to do that this season.
Who do you think Do you think they'll have a marketably better paint defense next year as opposed to what they were this last year? Will it regress a little bit back to what it was 2 years ago?
Yes, because the transition defense will be better. This is part of the problem is like points in the paint get counted when it's transition.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when you have better point of attack defenders, you allow less attempts. The best way to protect the rim is just to not allow shots there.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way to protect it, is like if they're just not willing to try and challenge you. The Nuggets actually were 13th in opponent defensive rim shot percentage in terms of distribution, right? So they did a pretty good job. They did all of this work to try and get you to not score down there. But the problem was like if you got a shot off, you were going to score. But if you can keep mitigating that, you'll get better challenges and you'll get better stuff. And I also just think the Joker, I think also the offense being better and better balanced means Joker will have more energy to be able to contest a little bit better than he did this season.
I mean, that's my hope. Like I said, I don't think Joker's blameless in this. I think it can't be the biggest swing where he was very good last year in the playoffs, I think defensively in a lot of ways. Because I just think from a body position standpoint, in the regular season, he was just, whoo, pass the ball in, you know what I mean? Or layup, quick run out, run up the court, go score. And then it's 140 to 138,
There was a lot of times where he would give the half-hearted contest, and then he would do the body language of the rolling his eyes while he does this, and it's like I'm always like, and maybe some of that was stuff that I don't realize. Maybe there's like stuff where it's like, no, I wanted him to force him left. I want him, because they did a bunch of stuff with like some of the problems that they had in the Thunder series where they would try and ice and they just wouldn't be able to. The guards wouldn't be able to get them forced that way. Right. Christian did a really good job, but they would just struggle in those kind of capacities. I don't know. I will say this, that to me, the biggest thing is you have to make it to where Joker gets the least pressure. And Jamal, again, would say, I had a career high in steals, and he did. Jamal, it was like he was either making a great defensive play or he was lazy and terrible. And it was like every play was like that, where it's like, oh, man, really great effort by Jamal. Oh, nope, Jamal just kind of gave up on that play and they scored. Like it was every other play. Just a more stable effort from Jamal would help a ton on top of these other guys now being involved. They got to protect Joker a little bit more, though. I think more than ever, they got to protect Joker. I think they're going to play a little bit more drop because I think that it's easier on him. Like, I just think it's easier on him. And they need to do that. And
do most bigs that are like elite players, they all play drop to a degree.
Yeah.
So I think some of this is also like every big does this. Like Wemby plays drop. It's just that he's like, he's an alien.
Well, he should play drop. Yeah, he should play drop.
Right.
The key is that Joker has never been comfortable in that in between, and I think he was better at it last season than he ever was. Like one of the things I think is notable is a fair criticism if you're in Joker's corner to what I've said about guys getting pie him and just scoring layups is, well, he doesn't have the foot speed, and that's not his fault. He did a better job of contesting jumpers, which is true. Like Joker wasn't just most games. There was a couple, but most games he wasn't just sitting there letting them get up mid-range jumpers off two dribbles off the screen. Like he was up there contesting. He can't contest and then recover. He can't do that. That's on the guard to get back and apply pressure, and the guards would just die on screens. So that's, to me, is the other kind of, that's why Russ made a big difference, honestly. It was like Russ wouldn't die on screens. So a lot of this is if their guys, if Bruce, if their other guy, if Peyton plays more, if they're able to do a little bit better on not dying on screens, that's going to help Joker because Joker can keep retreating a little bit and not allow those layups.
Right. Yeah.
Coming up, we'll wrap up our conversation about Aaron Gordon taking into the weekend with a little talk about, I want to ask Swipa what his favorite moment of AG's postseason was. We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Thanks for being part of our community.
I was asked a question on Players' Choice today. Who's currently a better athlete, Bruce Brown or Russell Westbrook?
Russ. Dude, Russ is still so fast.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that. I guess I'm thinking about the verticality stuff. Bruce still can get up and run, but I think Bruce is. I think people are going to be surprised to see Bruce didn't just lose all his juice in the air. I just think he just wasn't running out a lot for dunks anymore, or like crashing the paint like as a driver. But I'm curious to see. Like, I'm curious to see for sure.
I think Russ is one of the best athletes in NBA history.
Yeah, no, easily. Yeah, it's not even a question.
Yeah. He's just insane.
No.
Hurricane says, I can't believe Matt talked up the Cam for Matt trade, or for, I guess it means Cam for MPJ trade so much, but his conclusion on the big upgrade is 19th best defense. One, I didn't say that. I said the goal should be 14 to 17. Like, it's a failure if they get 19th. Like, it's a failure.
That's an effort thing.
The other thing is, a lot of it for me was about making them a more holistically better team. Not HOWL, but WHOLLI. Like, on the whole, they need to be a better, more versatile, more normal NBA team. They need a more normal NBA talent versus hyper specialized. And so the Cam trade for me was a massive upgrade. And honestly, I'll even tell you this: look, my numbers do not think that. When I did the offseason analysis based off of just pure numbers that I use, it had the Nuggets coming out a little bit in the negative because of MPJ being so valuable. But part of that is the numbers that I use are going to be reflected of the fact that MPJ played a bunch with Jokic. And so his plus minus is going to be impacted by that. His EPM is impacted by that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not like, I guess here's the thing. They may not win a lot more games next season, but you'll feel a lot better about it, which is what I think is probably a better case. Like, if they win 52 games next season, are you going to be, if they win 50 games, but they feel like a contender, are you going to be upset? Depends on what the rest of the West does, right? If you wind up in fourth, that's a problem. But if they wind up winning 53 games and they're the 3 seed, just because OKC and some other team wins 58 plus, Houston, right? Let's say if Houston wins 56 and the Thunder win 63. I don't think you're going to feel like the 3 seed. Do what?
Well, I think it should be the 3 seed. I just think the team is too good. Plus, they're playing the West. They're playing the East a lot. So I think they should be up at about 54, 55 for me personally. But I mean, again, a lot of it's feeling too. They could tail off toward the end of the year if they're trying to do that rest thing that we talked about before. But they should markedly be like a better basketball team, which is why I think they would just win more games. If that makes sense.
So yeah, well, I want to ask you that because I asked Ryan this question too, of that was where the conversation came between 14 and 17, right? What is your number for like right now? And I'll ask you again before the season starts or during training camp. Where are you like, I expect the Nuggets to finish no worse than X and no better than Y?
Defense?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I do parse it out in splits just because I've only seen this team ever do it in parsed out splits. So, I mean, they've never just been good or just been bad. Like, they've sucked. Great. We don't care about basketball. And then they went to the playoffs. So I think for me is they're going to get as high. They will have a month stretch where they will be top 10. Might even be more than a month. But they're going to have a stretch too where they're just not going to look good. But I think they should be aiming, for me, 12 to 14 for this team should be like, we did our job. And if you're telling me it's 12 to 14, then they get to the last month and they start tapering off and basketball becomes meaningless. Like this, remember, the Spurs had the best offense in the NBA in March this year. So if we just got to get to the playoffs and they slip to 15, 16, I'm good with that. But going into like the last little part of the year, I think they should be aiming to be around 12. Because I think that for you stabilized your defense. You've also figured something out. I think there's a consistency that needs to be there. But offensively, Matt, matter of fact, when's the last time they finished top 3 in offense? Because that's also another thing too. Like
this season,
there were 3 on NBA.com.
No, there are 3 on schedule adjusted.
Okay, schedule adjusted. So
it matters.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that like schedule adjusted. Yeah, I mean, Matt, what's stopping them from having the best offense in the league then this year?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I think is this was always the thing with Malone, right? Is like I haven't felt like the offense was healthy the last 2 years. I've said they're unimaginative. They feel like the league has scouted them. They haven't added any new wrinkles. They feel stale. And every single time I would bring this up, Malone's like, "We're third in offense. I don't want to hear any questions about this." Like he didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to hear. He thought the offense really ran itself because it did. And it's hard to argue with it when it's
the reason you can argue it though is as in the best Matt Moore way that I know how. Well, I would just contest though, Matt, at the same time. The reason why Jokic, they had a 127.7 offense last year with Jokic on the floor.
Yeah.
That's why, but you can't, to your point, can't just be greatest offensive player ever. Go. You know what I mean? There needs to be some stuff in there.
Yeah. And
that's all I'm saying.
And I think that Malone's like fight back on that would be, why am I spending time trying to fix the non-Joker minutes when I've done such a good job of making the offense so good with Joker? Right. And like, he doesn't get it. The coaching never gets any credit for like coach at this. It's really weird to me, but at this point, coaching never gets any credit for the great players. It's just like, that's how good they were. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you still got to put these guys in certain positions.
Malone gets credit for it though, Matt, but I do think there's something too. We've talked this year. Would you say this year with Adelman, they do have to figure out like a solve for the non-Jokic minutes with the amount of players.
Yeah, I was talking about that with Ryan. Like they need an actual scheme and an identity.
Right.
Like they need an actual, like, this is who we are when Joker's off the floor, as opposed to just being like, we'll figure it out. No, like you do the work, figure it out. Like actually have a plan here. Okay, that's gonna do it for Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys again on Sunday night. For No Jinx, me and Ryan will be back with you on Sunday night at 9:15 Mountain Time, maybe 9:30. I can't promise things. I appreciate you guys being with us. Follow Swipa on social, and we'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets. Aaron Gordon rules.